questions, comments, amendments to the motion? Okay, so all those in favor of the motion, please say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed say no. The motion passes, so we have the agenda. The next item on our agenda is audience participation. Anyone in the audience can talk to the council regarding something that's on the agenda or something they want to bring up to the council. 3 minutes if you're representing yourself and 5 minutes if you're representing a group. Audience participation is now open. Seeing no one come forth, audience participation is now closed. The next item on our agenda under new business is committee of the whole. Can I have a motion to go into committee of the whole?
Madam Mayor,
Yeah,
can I make a point real quick?
sure.
Our mics are not working right.
Mine is.
This side is.
Okay. And it disconnects at you. You can check down below. What's this one? Did you disconnect any of these up here when you did your joint meeting?
Just that one you just disconnected and plugged in, that's what it worked for us the first time, and then it quit working, we just used the handheld.
Oh, the thing down below you said you did it. Do not know.
Okay. So the next item on our agenda is new business, and I have a motion to go into committee of the whole.
So moved.
Oh, mine went up. Thank you. Okay, so motion to go into committee of the whole has been made. Did I hear a second? Okay, thank you. Any discussion, questions, or amendments to the motion? All those in favor of the motion, please say yes.
Yes.
All those opposed say no. Okay, the motion passes. Councilwoman, Deputy Mayor, no, okay. We're ready. So here we are, folks. The next and last meeting. There were some handouts that were put on the table for you. And also sent to you earlier today electronically. You have, okay.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So there's two items on the table tonight. One is a recommended 2020 amendments to 3 resolutions that we have on the floor or the table or somehow, somewhere.
Someplace.
And then the updated CIP plan, if you make the proposed amendments to Reso 20-004, which is our CIP resolution, if you make that amendment as proposed, this reflects those changes. And then 20-02 is our fee schedule. So we discussed the sound system, so that's been added. The MTA Event Center, we'd like to add curling stone rental, a monthly fee that's not in there. We did add curling time, but the stones we are renting those, so that would allow us to pass the rental on to the customer. On the resolution 20-005, primary amendment number 8 was new from the discussions where we reduced legal fees, increased council grants, and then increased election expenses for a net of increase of $5,000. And then the last one is primary amendment number 9, which was the discussion we had shortly about Wi-Fi. After talking to MTA and the burden of turning it off and on, and I think really what folks were looking for was a downtown Wi-Fi as opposed to providing a service within the depot, which hasn't been requested in the last 18 months.
Okay.
So if we run a downtown Wi-Fi right now, it looks like it'd be about $3,000. And if we do this, it would be kid-friendly. There would be no streaming, and then the file size would be limited to 50 megabytes as the largest file. There's a potential to partner with MTA as an MTA hotspot, which would then relieve us of the burden of maintaining the equipment, but there would be an associated fee for the usage that we would pay. And it shouldn't be more than this. If it's more than this, then I don't know why we'd participate. But so that's, if you want to have a downtown Wi-Fi, that's the basic cost for a basic service. We put it in the community development director doesn't like this, but the line would be in the depot as a separate line called downtown Wi-Fi.
Okay.
Just because that's where the equipment would be. It's not an enterprise fund, so we could subtract that out if we want to see how much the depot really costs us. But I think that's an appropriate place to put this line if we're going to go that
Okay.
route.
Okay.
And those are all the amendments that I
Okay.
captured from last meeting.
Okay, let me ask you a couple questions. So, what about the credit card? Is that in here oh, okay, the 25,000?
Yes.
Okay, good, okay. And then what about the website? Was there?
We have web maintenance already built in.
And so that's already there. Okay, great, thank you. Anyone else, questions, comments? Yes. Councilwoman.
Madam Mayor, I actually like the idea of the downtown Wi-Fi. I think from a tourism standpoint, I think that actually can be a pretty big advantage. I know it's nice when I travel other places that there's Wi-Fi available. That's actually kind of neat if you want to look something up. So, and it doesn't seem like it's that big of an expense.
Yeah, go ahead, sir.
I say there's other folks besides tourists that may migrate to that area because there's free Wi-Fi. At least at the library, they have to go in to be able to use it. So this is another just people hanging out to use Wi-Fi.
Okay, any questions on what has been presented to us? Okay, Deputy Mayor Combs?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I'd like to make an amendment to an amendment
Okay,
on Reso 20-004.
uh-huh,
The traffic safety planning.
mm-hmm,
The more I thought over the past week about what we talked about last week and everything, and how we came to the $135,000 by doing a combination, etc. I'm still not comfortable with, and of course, most of you know me, I don't get real comfortable with large amounts for studies and plans and that sort of thing when we have so many things that are collecting dust on shelves. But it just occurred to me that if we needed more, we could always come back for it. And so I would like to reduce that amount to $85,000 with the understanding that if we get deep into it, and we've already talked, we had talked at that time as well about how I also don't believe we're gonna be doing a great deal of that in the next year. I think we do need to wait and see, all of the effects of what's been happening with the Glen Highway, that sort of thing. We'll have citizens groups come and talk to us, I'm sure, about the Dogwood extensions and those kinds of things, but I just don't feel 100% comfortable with that amount out there, so I don't know if anybody else feels the same way or not, but I thought I'd bring it up.
So is there a second, to the Oh, that's right, you're right, thank you for reminding me.
Good discussion.
Okay, all right, so when we come out of the committee of the whole, we'll be open to your amendment.
Well, these aren't amendments.
Madam Mayor?
You can scratch on them all you want.
Cause these have not been, they've not been on the floor yet, right?
I
Okay.
would say come to a consensus on what that number is before we come back to the whole.
Okay, all right, okay, Councilman Carrington? Oh, your light went out, I was too slow in getting to you.
Just dealing with the manager, yeah. If I remember right, this is part of the CIP, so if we spend 35,000 of it, that means there'll be 100,000 left for 2021. It doesn't go away, and I guess to me, I'm looking at it as a way to kind of show that we know we have some issues and we need to be working on them. Although I'm allergic to the word planning and study too, but.
Further discussion? Councilwoman Sabrina Combs?
I would agree with Councilman Carrington.
Okay, further discussion? Well, before I ask, I'm sorry? Yeah. We're just gonna do the discussion here. Yeah. We can come to a consensus, right, yeah. I'm gonna back up a little bit and just ask a question of the city manager, and if he doesn't know, then to the finance director. Because I was a little bit concerned today regarding both of the planning items in the CIP. Because when you research what CIP is, and from my accounting background, says that it results in a permanent addition to the city's assets through acquisition of property, new construction, or rehabilitation of an existing facility to like new condition. And I was just wondering, that to me is not planning. So to me, planning would be in the operation budget, not in the CIP. And so I was wondering do we know from our accountants or CPA auditing firm, whether this would be an acceptable expenditure in the CIP?
My first answer is we haven't gone to the auditors to ask. Historically, we've done these this way, and it hasn't been an issue in past audits.
Okay,
So we've had downtown planning, we've had other planning items in our capital budget. As you read that definition, yes, this would not fit in that description, but we've done this in the past.
which ones have we done? I mean, and maybe they've slipped by me before, so have we done, which ones have we done in the past?
Well, our master planning has come out
But
of
we haven't, when did we do the master plan?
wastewater treatment plant master plan, the airport master
But the
plan, those have all
master
been
for
capital
the-
projects.
Those would have been in the enterprise fund, right?
It still is a capital project.
Right, but in the enterprise funds, not
Yes.
general fund.
Correct.
Okay, so has there been any in the general fund that you
The
think of?
downtown master plan or the downtown planning was in our
And when was that?
capital. That was when I first got here. It was in capital for a couple of years. And we did the wayward plan, wayfinding plan was part of our capital budget as well.
And that was a grant, wasn't it? Wayfinding
Yeah, it was a grant. It was a grant, yep.
That was a grant
Mhm.
rather than general fund monies, or did we have a
It was still
contribution?
in our capital fund though, so it was money given to us to
So we took the
spend.
grant into the capital funds, and then we expended it that way.
Correct.
Right, so it wasn't then. And did we have a contribution from the city for
No,
that?
that was a straight
Or
up,
that was just grant?
that was just grant
We
fund.
didn't have any
No.
contribution required?
Not for that one.
contribution. Okay, all right, okay. Yeah, and it's probably too late now to find out from the auditor in order for us to get the budget thing, but I'm just a little bit leery.
And we could still put it in the operational budget. There's nothing says we can't do that, but it doesn't, again, it's just, we'll have to reappropriate it next year, from year to year, as long as we're doing this.
Right, but we anticipate, at least on the annexation one, probably to spend that much, right? So it'd be
I
the
would
traffic
anticipate we'll
stuff
spend that all at once. The traffic planning could go
would
multi-year.
be something different, so then that would have to be another reoccurring one in the operations, right? So. Okay, so any other discussion, question? Okay. So we do have the recommendation to reduce the 135 to 85. How do we want to come to a consensus about this? Councilwoman Sabrina Combs?
I'm with Councilman Carrington. If we don't spend it all and it's in the capital budget, we can just carry it over. So I'm not really sure it needs to be changed. It's nice to have it there in case we need it.
Okay, other thoughts? Councilwoman Burrick?
Thank you. I agree with both of them as well. And as far as the traffic safety planning, we have several things on here that are like improvements or.
Right, those are fine.
Yeah, and so, I mean, if it's a matter of semantics to call it traffic safety improvements, as far as us not really having, it specifically what we're doing with that money, is that what you're
Well,
concerned with?
I'm just saying that when you say capital improvements, it's a different conversation than a study where you don't have anything really tangible. And I was thinking, even taking it on the next step, that studies generally is not depreciable. All the things that in the definition for the CIP, except for land, of course, which you don't depreciate, but the other things are all depreciable. And so they are more of a capital outlay, than they are something like on a study that's just done and it's there, and you can either do it or not do it, so, okay, so. Any other discussion? Yes.
Engineering. If that's something we decide to do once we have our strategic planning, so that tangible thing coming forward. We could get engineering done this year with it.
Well, yeah, but engineering's an operational cost, yeah, not a capital cost, unless you're doing a project and it's added into the project. Councilman Best?
Madam Mayor, thank you. Interesting concept to try to understand, and it's just kind of our responsibility to make sure that we're putting the funds in the right money so that when we do get audited, and I appreciate that. When it comes to the amount, that aspect of the discussion, and we have the ability to pare back some of our designated funding. I'm always a big fan of being very frugal, especially with the projections that came out today, talking about some of the state opportunities. I think we need to look at things a little bit differently, with a little more of a frugal mindset. So I'm going to be in support of paring it back to 85,000.
Okay.
Understanding that we, if this is the proper location for us to have this, that we need to probably neck it back a little bit and maybe not take it on as much of a bite as we'd like to.
Okay. And, Councilwoman Gutierrez?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Keep it 135, so if we don't spend it, it goes back into the fund, so I'm okay with where it's at.
Okay. Councilman Carrington?
So if we were to take this out of the CIP, where would it go? Would like annexation planning go into, I'm guessing, the
Operations.
council budget? And the traffic?
Either council or city manager,
It's community development.
community development.
Oh,
It
okay.
would go in, into our into the general fund operational budget rather than the capital budget. Operation, you have the two different budget, one is operational and the other is capital, and so that's where it would go.
I'm just trying to follow, so if we wanted to play it safe, so to speak, put it back in the operational budget and then bring it up with our auditors, et cetera, as far as what.
Right.
And I mean, in my mind, I like the idea of having something, whether it's the CIP or something like it, for projects like annexation, because it's gonna be a multi-year thing. I'd rather look at it years in advance and be talking about it than, rolling the dice and figure out what numbers we can pull out.
Yeah, well, I think the city manager said that he anticipates spending that figure
Yeah.
this next year.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, for annexation, yeah. So this wouldn't, and who knows, we would maybe or maybe not need next year in 2021, depending on how this portion went. Deputy Mayor Combs?
Reasons I was thinking about was the amount, okay? If we need to start with, it goes up to 35 because we rejected the okay, and so just about it a little bit, is that, okay, we'll just roll this all together, which maybe at the second or so sounded like a good thing to do, but then the more I thought about it again, keeping the operational funds separate from, because this is supposed to be CIP monies, and not so much, well, it'd be nice to have it there, it's, this is what we're going after type thing. That's just the way I view it, and so that's one reason why I wasn't comfortable with it being up there. So, because, we were in agreement regarding, the work on Arctic, the fact that it had been researched and we were going, no, that's not gonna work out. So, but just a little bit more, I guess, on why I was thinking that way. But I too agree with Councilmember Best after the economic forecast today, and we're gonna see more and more of that. We can't second guess ourselves. Every single time one of these economists come out with a new report, but we do have to pay attention to it, and we do have to realize that because historically we have been frugal, and everything is why Palmer is not in the same straits. In some places in the state, they're in dire straits, and we're not, because we have been cautious and we've been frugal and said, we know that some of those traffic, there are some, like the extension that's potentially coming up within the next year, but there's also several that they're going to be 2 to 5 years down the road, and that's just reality. So there's where I'm coming from.
Okay, I think there were some lights on. I don't know for sure which one of you had your light on first, so.
Okay. I think I did, Madam Mayor.
Okay.
So if I remember correctly, though, there were 3 different things that we were talking about. It was the speed ramps. It was the, speed bumps, speed ramps. The Dogwood extension and the Arctic. And we took the Arctic crosswalk out, and so therefore we already reduced, I want to say that was 85,000 on that, for that, and we combined the 55 and the 85 that, sorry, Sabrina's.
It's fine.
No.
It was more.
85 for
And
Dogwood
85.
and 100,000 for the speed tables.
And then reduced it by 50,000.
Okay,
So that was-
correct. So anyway, we have reduced some of it and taken one of the things off the table. And then decided to call it traffic planning versus having 2 separate items. So I personally think that we should leave that down in there, and I think that we should look into both of them and have that money there for that possibility.
Yes, Councilwoman Ramirez?
Madam Mayor, yeah, if we look back at the resolution that we have, we get what speed tables, Arctic crosswalk, and then Dogwood crossing design, and that all together was 270, if I'm doing the math right. And so we actually taken that back down to 135.
Okay. Further discussion? Okay, so it sounds like we don't have enough votes to reduce it, so, okay, so it will remain in there for 135. And I'm sort of, I don't know about the annexation planning. I guess I'd just like to have it on the record that, that I did voice a concern about planning in the CIP. So if there is a question, when you're getting ready to, have the other, Deputy Mayor Combs.
I would like to say that I have the same question. And if at all possible, we need the answer prior to passing the budget.
Right.
But I think we need the answer. Because there is a difference. You know, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, there's a big difference.
Probably accounting people think that more than others, but you know, there's a difference. And so if we could have an explanation on that at some point in time from either Gina or the city manager, appreciate it.
Okay.
Madam Mayor.
Come best, yes.
I really appreciate the perspective that you brought forward as it pertains to the planning, that it's not a tangible asset.
Right.
So I'm in favor of taking the annexation planning, put it under operational, under community and economic development potentially. And also, I'll kind of put this out there. If it was to be traffic safety planning and improvements, it's undefined as to where those improvements are, but it indicates that they would be an asset.
Right.
So I think that might be a way to split the hair.
Then, yeah.
And so I think that's, I won't ask for the amount to be reduced, but maybe we will adjust that title to state traffic safety planning and improvements.
Okay.
And that way it's very open.
Okay.
And
Right.
then I would probably be bringing forward the movement of the annexation planning out of the CIP and into
Okay.
community and economic development.
Okay. Okay. Already, I think there seems to be an agreement on adding and improvements, so, okay. Ready? Anything, further questions on anything that we discussed that in the past during our discussion times that either you don't think are clearly identified, or there's not enough money, or there's too much money on any of these items? Oh, I know one question I was gonna ask, follow up on annexation, for those of us that have been involved in that in the past. This building, this meeting place will not be adequate. So are we gonna be able to, with the new sound system in the depot, be able to record over there?
It has the ability to have something plugged in. I don't know that it's compatible with our current system, so that would require the clerk to,
Do you
Either-
happen to know that? I should have asked you before, Kurt.
I don't think this one's very mobile anyway.
This one's not at all, and we do not have.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam. This is a mobile system, and we do not currently have a system that is mobile. But I have like a handheld that I can look into and possibly plug in and whatnot.
Okay, and do you have any idea what kind of figure we're thinking about? Is that a 5,500?
That is IT involved in
Okay.
looking at equipment and whatnot. That's
Okay,
an IT question,
okay, okay.
yeah, that would require.
Yeah, Councilman Carrington, go ahead.
If I could inquire of the clerk, as far as the recording goes, is there any special, formatting, labeling that has to happen, or is it just mostly you're getting a recording that can be played back later?
Go ahead.
recording.
All right, because.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a 4-channel recorder for, it's a couple $100, so it should be easy.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, Councilman Best. Oh, I'm sorry. Or I don't know, whichever one of you wants to go.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. That's an interesting question, and my question to the clerk would be, what is our requirements to record for the record?
States we audio record our meetings.
And that's all that it stipulates, is that we record them?
That's right. And we retain for 1 year.
Okay.
Okay, so does that mean then that whatever kind of recording system it was that we could put over there, it would meet the legal requirement?
I think so. Ability. It doesn't stipulate it has to be. It could be like tape, or it has to. Yeah. It has to be able to be in a media type that we can release to someone.
Sure.
So we do, So we do we provide the digital format. We do it on cassette tape. We provide it on cassette tape.
Sure.
Things of that nature. So we stick to digital, obviously. But yeah, we have flexibility as to what that is and how we can record. So it's a matter of being in that large of a room, being able to capture all of that audio. It's not able to take a digital recorder and just put it in the middle of the room. You know what I mean? Like we have to have microphones. It's not a small enough room for something like that. So finding something that can plug in. And I've used, like I said, little handheld digital recorders that the city that I use that in still to this day is using the same system, the same little digital handheld recorder. It's just a cable that plugs right in and whatnot. But I can't speak to the specifics because I have not seen the audio system in the Devo. But I believe we have flexibility. I believe we have a lot of opportunity to make it happen.
Okay.
I don't know though.
Yes.
Palmer, the recording evening,
That,
potential recording.
yeah. Well, I think we have to do our own recording, do we not? So, okay. Because it would be set up, we'd be set up like this, where we would all have to have mics and that kind of thing. I mean, for a public meeting, right? It isn't where you're gonna run around with the hand plugged
Right.
to whoever's talking, so.
Meeting there, you're right. We need to be able to have it projected in a manner that all attending can hear us. It needs to be audible to everyone.
Sure.
Microphones, what that looks like, again, depends on the microphone system.
Right.
To the question, does Radio Free Palm meet our audio need? It does because we contract and pay them
Right.
for that. Someone randomly up the street, no. We have already payment in relationship. So that's that connector piece
Okay.
that we could, that this system, as we saw tonight, is slowly deteriorating. We relied on Radio Free Palmer's audio to get our own digital. So there's a possibility, but it's not something, they aren't available every time. Having our own system is important.
And then is these microphones portable to go over there, or does the sound system over there we don't have any of that?
It would to run a council meeting with 7 to 8 microphones. It has an output jack. So to record, it's got one input. To input, it's got two microphones, potentially 3 if we go wireless. So
Okay, all right.
Randomly turning them on now. There we go. Thank you.
There were too many lit up.
Yeah. So Nate's microphone is the problem microphone we're finding.
Yeah.
Discussion for before that meeting, where we don't need to hammer out.
Well, my concern is if we need to buy new system, we need to address the money tonight. So that's my concern. And some people can talk about how many people there were there and what you had to do in the past annexation public hearings, and all of that has to be recorded and presented to the local boundary commission and stuff. I mean, it gets pretty detailed. And Councilman Best.
Madam Mayor. We could do a little research, as in staff could do a little research to see what we might need to do that. Also, in our RFP, we might actually roll that into the requirement of recording of the meetings to the RFP. So that's another way that we could skin that cat.
Right. Councilwoman Sabrina Combs?
It's like use the school district's building or the building, or just like we could use theirs. Because the school district would be far large enough.
Go ahead.
Thank you. We did have a potential meeting that exploded in here. Like, we had a lot of citizens who attended, and in preparation for that meeting, we did contact them at Subaru, and they were willing, because we fought off meeting nights. They were willing. We went over there, everything ready to go if we needed to. So I know the Subaru has been willing to open up their chambers for us. So that is a possibility. I have not reached out to the school district as a need. And so that, I'm sure they probably would. But just to answer your question, yes to the borough, I have not reached out to the school district.
Okay. And just as a side, we have the exact same system at MEA, and we have had to move it to other locations, and we have like a little travel device, so it's not expensive.
Oh.
We will need to budget tonight. We need to budget more money for it. I don't think it'll be that expensive.
Sure, yes, go ahead.
We do have a couple $1,000s in our CIP. So if you're talking not very much money, we probably don't need to. I can look at folding that in, or doing some with IT,
Okay.
get some costs, and then we can.
Okay.
And I want to say we have 3,500 in there,
Okay.
so
You
that
think
should
it
be
will
plenty.
take care of that?
4,000?
49.
4,900, not 3,900, 4,900. So
Okay.
it's within that 5,000.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, all right. Okay, so any discussion on any of the other items that we presented? We got
Just ready to
everything
do
all
the
done?
audio recording stuff.
Okay.
Madam Mayor?
Yeah.
Is
Councilman.
just on the resolution aspect or anywhere in the budget are you talking about?
I think we could just, if we're, let's see, is there anything on the resolutions? Nothing, anything else? Okay, why don't you, do you want to jump to a discussion then on the, and are you general fund, enterprise fund, where you at?
First, but talk about the primary amendment number 8, about adding additional, that's, the community I'd like to keep it at $10,000 instead of 15. I'd
Okay,
like to find out what the rest of council's thoughts are on that.
okay. Councilwoman, Sabrina Combs?
Thank you. And I asked to bring it back to 15 where it was last year. But the years that I've been here, we've had special projects that came to us. One was the YAC, one was the Hatcher Pass emergency system, so they could get more notifications. I think we have. I just think that if a project came to us from the city, we should be able to make those grants, and that was my reasoning for increasing it back to 15.
Okay, further discussion on that proposed change? Yes, Councilwoman.
Of leaving it at, or bringing it up to the 15, which was what was spent this year.
Okay. Other thoughts from anybody else? So I don't know if you have a consensus or not, sir. Deputy Mayor Combs?
Yeah, I
have no problem with it going back to the 10, and I think part of the reasoning is we need to keep in front of us at all times the purpose. And it's on the commission statement. I thought I had a copy of it that I could read, and I don't right in front of me. So the Board of Economic Development during the development of this grant process and what it was intended for, was more of what we've been doing for the Green Day Gap or the say if the store for money for the grant thing, it wasn't to write bigger projects in terms of $5,000 at a whack or whatever. So I think that this has proven to be a good partner with helping these events become established or helping some of these projects get off the ground. But they don't have to, you need to be a partner. It was the thought process that went into that. And because of that, we have no problem with returning the amount to the 10,000 that was originally proposed.
Okay. Ready? Do I have some comments from this side over here? Councilman Carrington?
That's, my preference would be even trickier, but I kept it to not any more than a couple thousand for each grant, which is kind of my preference, but I don't know that that would be possible to rip that open and tweak that so that, but you know, without being able to do that, I could see keeping it at the 10,000 just to kind of help communicate that to people.
Okay. Councilman Burbrick?
So without really knowing the spirit of the community council or the council grant, and how that was set up in the first place, but hearing what Linda said there, I can kind of agree with the not really wanting to underwrite requests for development, basically, and that the spirit of the grant should be to facilitate with anybody who's coming to us for a grant. I do also think on this thing that we should improve how people are responding to the grant. I know we've talked about this before, how we are really giving people the opportunity to give feedback, or we haven't told them that we want that feedback, and then we're saying that we're kind of annoyed that we're not getting any feedback. So sort of an aside. So how has the council grant been around?
5 years? 5 years, I think.
2015.
2015, yeah, so that would be 5 years.
And did it start at $10,000, or if you don't mind giving me a little history?
See,
here?
you probably have it here in the budget. Oh, yes, sorry.
If I may, so when I so when we go through the budget process, we would be inundated with groups coming in and pitching why they needed for us to fund their project, and there was really no tool or mechanism other than just put it in the council budget, and we just, you know, we had like a $20,000 slush fund, you know, utilizing that term loosely for council, and then throughout the year we would just kind of, you know, people would come and, hey, my project or some nonprofit, you know, wanted support. So we had looked at a couple of different communities. Soldotna and Kenai had a couple of community grant situations set up, so we brought it forth so that we would have a budgeted item that we could put in there, and we'd say that, you know, that's what this was for these kind of things. And if memory serves me right, it's been 10,000 for the first couple of years, and then it just bumped up that one year, and then we had money left over, and not all of it was expended. Some years, I think, I don't think we've ever spent more, I don't think we ever allocated more, but it was just a mechanism in which that we could kind of gauge ourselves and also put some sort of a limitation out there, and we kind of went over it, a little bit based on need and how much was still left towards the end of the year. One of the proposals that I had brought up also was to do it quarterly, have that, if it was $10,000, break it up into $2,500 quarterly, and then if it wasn't used, that could roll over to the next quarter. But that way, some group didn't come in when we were having some discussions and there wasn't a set number of, say, $2,000 that we would put a limitation. What the fear was that some group would come in, make a great pitch, and sweep all 10 grand off of the table. If council, I'm not saying it would happen, but there was no guardrails, so to speak. So we can put rail as we want to if we have this discussion later on, but that's kind of some of the controls.
Okay, so, on the budget, 7,600 in 2016, 10,000 2017, these are actual figures, and 12,500 in 18, and then the amended budget for 2019 is 15, and then the proposed budget had taken it down to 10. Deputy Mayor Combs?
Language, when people were coming to them. The one thing that struck me very strongly was there are folks within our community that have great ideas, and they might not know how to start.
Your
or
mic, yeah.
For an event, and you've put events, Councilwoman Burbick, so I know you know what I'm talking about. Advertising alone is daunting, the expense. So the thought was if it could help with some of the expense, but not underwrite the event, not underwrite the project or proposal, that we could help folks that have great ideas for, say, an event or a project here in Palmer, not completely underwrite it, but help them, just kind of get over that hump and to get it started, see if it's gonna fly. Some of the early projects like that would have been, Who Let the Girls Out, for example. Which, an individual in our community was underwriting out of their own checkbook. So to help them with enough funds to be able to do the advertising that expanded that project to, instead of 1,200 folks showing up, to well over 5,000 within 2 years, there's a payoff there. But did we underwrite the whole event? No. So that was, in the years that it was being developed, that was my take on it. And I'm sure maybe someone else looked at it somewhat differently. But there were a few groups then, starting after the third year or so that we were talking about it, that were coming in and they were talking about bigger numbers, So I've always kind of leaned towards the concept of this isn't to support the whole thing or to underwrite the whole thing, but to help you out and to keep out into our community the concept of being partners. Let's have a partnership, financially and otherwise. I hope that helps.
I don't know which one of you had your mic on first, which way?
Go for it, Joe.
Okay, go ahead, Councilwoman Valeris.
Madam Mayor, I guess my question would be, there's a reference to underwriting things. Has the council ever really given the amount of money that basically has carried an organization at this point? But that's just the reference that I see, and it'd be interesting to see that. Thank you for the historical data to actually then take it back basically 3 years back in funding. So, I mean, we can do it, but I also agree with you being a partner with community folks and encouraging people to do things, and if we can help. So, I mean, if we have that grant money and it doesn't all get, I don't know if spent or granted, if you will, what happens with that pool of money? Does it just maintain there?
No, it expires at the end of the fiscal year.
So it rolls back into,
The reserve then, or
okay,
to the general fund.
but it doesn't just like vanish.
Okay, let's see, Sabrina, I think.
I feel like we're
Sabrina Combs.
beating this to death, but I was confused because I just read the resolution for the ordinance for when we created this, and none of those larger projects don't fit into this. The aim of the community grant program is to provide modest levels of support and assistance to help foster and develop community programs, services, and projects and events. We gave $1,000 to the YAC this year to build a community center for our teens so they have somewhere to go after school. I don't see how that wouldn't fall into this. So I just wanted, the reason I raised it back up was just in case a project like that is incredibly worthy of our time and effort and money came up, we would have it. That's the only reason I did it. And so far in the 2 years I've been here, 2 very important projects have come to us like that, so.
Councilwoman Burritt?
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Uh-huh.
Well, I really appreciate the background on it. I think it's a wonderful thing that we have the ability to do. I don't have a problem with the $15,000, knowing, you know, the history and what we're doing. I do agree with Councilman Best that maybe we could have some quarterly amounts so that, you know, that it kind of could be a first come first served thing, and something that doesn't happen to the end of the year, there could not be any money left for that. So maybe that, and a little bit of restructuring how people like have a survey at the end of their event or something like that. But I'm okay with the $15,000.
If we're gonna have a break between this and the next meeting, unless somebody else has a burning thing, can I ask for a motion to come out of the committee of the whole, or do you wanna go till the very minute to 6:59 or something? So, okay,
I'll move to come out of a committee of the whole.
okay. Is there a second? Okay. All those in favor of come out of the committee of the whole, please say yes. Yes. And those opposed say no. Okay, we are out of the committee of the whole. Madam Clerk, record of items placed on the table.
We have the revised amendment list, and we have the revised proposed amended CIP plan.
Okay, ready? Anyone that want to do council comments? Okay, we will adjourn and then we'll see you in 6 minutes.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Norma.
Would you do the pledge first, please?
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The next item on our agenda is the approval of the agenda. What is the wishes of the council?
Mayor, I move that we approve the agenda as presented.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion, questions, comments, amendments to the agenda? Okay, all those in favor, please say yes.
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 Those opposed say no. Okay, the agenda has been approved, including the consent agenda and the approval of the minutes from November 5th, November 12th, November 26th, both special and regular, and December 3rd, special meeting. The next item then on the agenda is reports. Are you ready, sir? Okay. Can I close that? There, thank you.
So this is not quite the final building report for 2019, but the final one you'll get for this year. It's number 2 year in the last 10 years. Incredible much improvements we've had done in the city for the past year. $29.8 million invested in Palmer in construction and new construction improvements and other things along those lines. So it's been a banner year. And November was you can see just in November with the investment that was done with one new commercial and then some alterations. So again, a banner month. Some things I'd like to add. I was asked last meeting for a quick update on how snow removal has been going. Breakups here. I guess we'll start next month. So the crew, which is more or less block maintenance crew, what they're responsible for doing are snow plowing and snow removal around our buildings and then the sidewalks that are with public buildings and then branch out from there. Part of the priority also is around schools. So with the snowstorms, the 2 that we've had, it takes 2 to 3 days just to get the city grounds and the city sidewalks, and that done once. And that's with a 2-man crew, and then if we can get the 3rd man on call to come in and drive the event track around consistently while we're taking care of walkways and ADA curb cuts and things like that. It's not down. We saw the last storm. We can't get it down to concrete or pavement. It's not feasible. But what we were able to do when the snow was out was to keep it smooth. So you don't have the big bumps or the ankle twisters. And some of our bigger tired wheelchairs and folks that aren't able to walk on bumpy ice, we're able to transit some of our sidewalks, the ones that we do. And they were also able to get into our buildings. What they're doing when it's not snowing is going back with shovels and picks and breaking the ice up, primarily around our ADA curb cuts. That's what we've been seeing for the last couple of days, especially with the snow, and make sure our storm drains are clear. But if anyone's interested, I've got a full sheet on what goes on. I won't read everything that's done, but the Palmer Police Department and the Trooper Building, we're responsible for that. The public library and the quad, all the walkways and entrances and the parking lot. City Hall, which encompasses our fire station 3-1, the sidewalks, entrances and such. The depot, which is a huge area, you wouldn't really think of it as such, but that whole area in front of the depot is a walkway, plus the quad in front of the depot. The visitor center and the public restroom, that's also a public area. It takes more than just an event track, 24-inch wide path to get that done. Our downtown pavilion area, which is really the sidewalk that runs in front of the length of Colony and Alaska from the depot down to the railroad tracks, the crossing on Fireweed. And then of course our airport, we don't always think about the airport, where there's public space out there that we have to do by hand. So that's a quick roll up on generally what we do with snow removal on sidewalks and with our 2-man crew. So even when it's not snowing, it takes 2 to 3 days just to clear those areas. Watched Anchorage this last storm, and they have the same issues we have, but they've got those 2 big snow track machines. Watched the snow track go basically the length of Muldoon. And by the time if you're familiar with that area, you started going up the hill in Muldoon. But at that time, 2 DOT snow plows doing about 35 miles an hour covered all of his work that he'd just done clearing sidewalks. Not unfamiliar to our sidewalk crew in Palmer. So those are the kinds. It's easier for us to coordinate because we don't have these long swaths and we don't have multi-jurisdictions with folks. DOT could really care less what Anchorage Muni does with their sidewalks. So it is a challenge with our own snow plows, but it's also a challenge with some of the folks that do clean their own sidewalks, putting it on a spot we've cleared. So there's still some work to be done, but it's an improvement from last year. And then the weather just the last 2 days has really cooperated on making it look like we're doing a great job. But the crew is doing, not to say they're not doing a good job, they are. But there's more to it as we find it day to day. The other piece that we tried this year, we're trying still, is a liquid mixture. It's a calcium chloride, which is what we normally use, but we use it in salt form. This year we got 275 gallons of a liquid form, but also has molasses in it. And we're not putting this down on the streets or the length of the sidewalks, but we are using it on the curb cuts Cause what it does, the molasses makes it stick, so that it absorbs in, and then they come back a couple hours later and it makes the shoveling and the chiseling a whole lot easier. So it's been very time saving measure. It's not something we'll put on the roads, they use on the roads in lower 48. It's not something we'll put on the full length of the sidewalks because the molasses does tend to stick to your boot, and then you can potentially drag it around. So we try to use it in places where we have to really get at something with the shovel. So if you see a little brown patch on the sidewalk, hopefully that's molasses. But it is, and it does wash away. It's a natural organic compound. It's safe to the environment, and it's not more than 10% of the slurry anyway. So you may see some brown spots on the sidewalk from our sprayer from the Ventrac. Other than that, I will be on vacation in the area. If we have a budget, starting the 23rd. Otherwise, I'll be in here with the rest of you on the 24th. But I will be in the area, and I will also be doing the radio show on the 27th, if that's still a go with Radio Free Palmer. Pending that, I have nothing else to report tonight.
Okay. Any questions, comments to the city manager regarding his report or anything else you would like to ask him?
Madam Mayor,
Councilwoman.
I appreciate the city manager commenting on the brown stuff, cause I actually had somebody ask me what's the brown stuff, and I was like, I don't know. I said, I think there's some calcium chloride, but I don't know about the brown stuff.
Any other comments or questions from the council? Madam Clerk, your report?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So as we're coming to an end here for 2019, I was looking at 2020, and one of the directions that was given by the council for discussion first month in 2020 is election conversation.
Right.
So I'd like some more direction on, besides for me creating a draft resolution on the term limits and putting it on the agenda as a committee of the whole, what does this council need in regards to the 4 topics that were provided? And this was conversation back in October, and that was moving the election day to November discussion, a vote by mail, voter participation, and then the term limits resolution. So those were the 4 notes that I had down that the committee of the whole discussion would be held. Like I said, I know the one thing to bring forward is a draft resolution. What does the council need to enter into that committee of the whole to be prepared for that discussion, so that I can get the research done and the documents prepped for you?
Okay, so Councilwoman Sabrina Combs?
I know in regard to vote by mail, cost, maybe looking at what Anchorage did, seeing what their participation numbers did, or any other like size cities that you could find. And for any of those things, I think cost is probably going to be number 1 that we'd like to see. And then voter participation numbers, if those are available, of anything that you find.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Councilman Carrington?
Yeah, and I'd like participation numbers for the voter participation, some history. I know when I've looked recently, some years are more difficult to figure out than others. But so having that, our own history, as well as if it's easy enough to get some for similar communities or strange communities like Anchorage, but.
So Palmer and similar size, okay?
Okay. Councilman Best?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. For the discussion of term limits, the historical perspective over the last, say, I think there was a document that was generated, looked back over the last 16 years of how often there was multiple candidates, how often new candidates came in. There was there was a document generated probably 4 or 5 years ago when it had come up before. Also, I'd like to ask for council support to add one more topic to it, as in designated seats.
Okay. Designated seats, you said, okay?
Okay.
May I
Yeah,
ask a clarifying
sure.
question? Councilmember, when you're talking about designated seats, do you want an actual piece of legislation drafted like the term limits, or are you just want general discussion?
Yes, I'd like to have legislation drafted.
Okay.
Madam Mayor,
Councilwoman Sabrina Combs?
didn't we just do that and we voted it down?
Yeah, but anything can come back, you know, as new business to be reconsidered or discussed further, so.
The joint committee of the whole, right?
Okay, anything else on elections that you think of? Okay. Does that give you enough information or?
Definitely gives me some good things to research. I do think this is what I was looking for when I was
Okay.
asking that. So thank you very much, Council, for providing that. And so I have some stuff to do next month to prepare for this.
Okay,
Right now, it's looking on the forward-looking calendar to be the second meeting in January for discussion.
okay,
Okay.
okay, all right.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. That's everything.
Anything else? Do you have anything else in your report? Okay, any questions, comments to, yes, Deputy Mayor?
Did we get enough support for everything? Did you record a second or a support for Councilmember Best?
I feel that, well, the mayor, you had said that open discussion, this is committee of the whole, so I do feel that that was enough. That's,
Okay.
the direction was what types of topics, so
Okay,
I
because
feel
if you
good
need
with
it, I'll
that.
give it, you know, but
Okay,
I.
perfect, we
I
have
did-
a second support.
I didn't think I had heard it, so.
Okay.
Okay, anything else on, nope,
Thank you.
okay, anyone else have any, questions of the clerk? And let's see, now remind me, so that's January, I know we set things like for February and March, I think we were up to, so what was the discussion we were planning on having during February? Cause we sort of had major topics, remember, we said, and, yeah, Sabrina?
Are you talking about the planning session that we wanted to hold?
No, well, that also, I guess, we probably should maybe, you know, have some idea to give it to I think that would be to the city manager,
Right.
regarding that, but we had set like 3 major topics that we wanted to, and I think maybe the
Oh,
clerk
that's
has
right.
one. Yeah, go ahead, the clerk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So what I gathered was we have direction on travel policy, we had direction on the grant score sheet. The council community grant came up
Right.
a few times. That was a unanimous one that came up. It was the goal setting was another one, and those are the things that I captured. The what ones?
Go ahead.
So the land disposition is the first meeting in January.
Oh,
First
right.
meeting in January,
Yeah.
okay.
City land, yeah.
Okay. Okay,
And then the sales tax, online sales tax, the timing will probably need to be February,
February
to have
for
that
sales
discussion,
tax.
cause I think the AML or the Online Sales Tax Commission will have
have the
it ready for.
report ready by that
Yep.
time, you think, okay. Okay, so those were the 3 major topics that we
And I've
had.
added it now.
Yeah, you added them, okay.
Yeah, so we'll have it for our agenda setting meeting discussions
Okay,
to set them. Thank you.
sounds good.
But we also added having a discussion about traffic safety planning and improvements to decide what direction to go with that money. So that'll have to be sometime in the spring.
Traffic
Okay.
safety.
Unless it comes up during the strategic planning session, it could come up as part of that topic as well, but that was another topic.
Okay, okay. Probably during the planning session, it probably could be one of the priorities or non-priorities, depending on what kind of emphasis the city council wants to put on it, you know, so, yeah, okay. Anything else for the clerk? Okay.
Thank you, Madam
Mm-hmm. So you got enough to do there? No vacation for you?
I was gonna say, I plan on being out actually for the next month, but maybe not now.
Alrighty, you have my written report, most all of you know the Colony Christmas this weekend, of course. I did wanna point out to you that, on the 4th, at Wasilla Senior Center is going to be the legislative, town hall. So just be sure that you have those, and Deputy Mayor Holmes, you have some things to add,
Sure, the senior center on the 20th,
okay?
just during their regular congregate meal time or their lunchtime, but Santa Claus will be there and a few others. And they just would like to extend their usual invitation for anyone who's able to please come and join.
Okay,
join them. They will be they will be participating in Colony Christmas and having a big, vendor crafts type bazaar this coming weekend. And again, we're just trying to encourage as many folks in the community as possible. A lot of people haven't ever been in that facility, and come on over, I'll give you a tour. And you'll find out that there's another gem in our wonderful community.
okay. Any other questions or comments regarding my report? Okay. So we shall do this, huh?
Okay. Oh. You wanna go that way so I can get pictures of her?
The less best kept secret, I guess, yeah. Thank you. Yes, it's not the Pledge of Allegiance this time. So this is a proclamation from the City of Palmer to our Chief of Police. Lance has faithfully and professionally served as a City of Palmer Chief of Police for more than 5 years and served nearly 23 years in the City of Palmer. You don't want to make it 25? Whereas displaying his leadership, management, and public safety expertise, Lance has served as a dispatcher, patrol officer, sergeant, detective, commander, and chief, which have positioned the city for a time of being stable and safe and for our future. Whereas this was repeatedly demonstrated by his genuine care for Palmer's citizens and employees and always helping to make City of Palmer, Alaska at its best. Whereas during his years of service, he represents the city well in serving the mayor, myself. Yeah? Is Dwayne going to show up now at all of the Job Corps luncheons so that I have my...
You'll have protection.
I'll have my protection, okay. I lost my place for him. And the council, of course, and the city manager and many city employees while displaying remarkable patience and professionalism performing your duties. Whereas the City of Palmer recognizes the invaluable resource it has enjoyed in the longevity of Lance's gracious services and desires to acknowledge the unanimous appreciation of the City Council and the administration and his co-workers. Now therefore it is proclaimed by the mayor and the city council of the City of Palmer, do hereby express our gratitude and appreciation for all the work that Lance has done while serving as the chief of police for the City of Palmer. And although he will no longer be a city employee, we are certain he will continue to serve our community with enthusiasm as well as in the future as he's always done. And while his wife is here, I want to thank her for sharing him these many years with us. Thank you very much. There you are, sir. Huh? Oh, did you want to say something?
No, just thank you to everybody from the council, well, of course, to my family who's here, and most of all to the department, my other family that's been with me these last some decades. It's been my privilege and my honor.
It's been ours also. They don't want to stay for the fireworks and the budget, I guess, huh? Okay, the next, let's see, does Mike have a report for us?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I'd just like to thank Lance for his service. I've enjoyed working with him over the years, and he's done a great job for the city, and we'll miss him, but we'll also welcome Commander Shelton to the chief's position and expect to work in the same capacity with him as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions to the city attorney for his report or questions about anything else? Okay, So the next item on our agenda is audience participation. Anyone in the audience can address the council. 3 minutes if you're representing yourself, 5 minutes if you're representing a group. Audience participation is now open.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mike Malevsky, I live at 325 East Fireweed Avenue in Palmer, Alaska. I'd like to break what I'm saying into two parts. The first part, a few words about the issue of providing Wi-Fi service. 10 years or so ago, I prevailed upon Al Strawn to put a unit in the top part of the Matt Valley Federal Credit Union. I prevailed upon the borough's attorney to let me put a unit in their top floor office because we were experimenting with how to do things. You no longer have to do that kind of stuff because the equipment has improved dramatically. However, and the reach has improved dramatically. So it is possible to provide a unit. We were working with Meraki. Meraki has now become Cisco Meraki, but their gear is good and it works very well, has a long area. But most importantly, and I found this to be true because I was the operator for that, there are two things that you do with Wi-Fi. One is you traffic shape it so that you can control how much is being used by any individual. The second part, which I would invite you to consider, is to ensure that whatever splash page you use is another way for the city to explain what the city is. And that can be developed very nicely. It's like having a little mini web page, and I won't perseverate with that. The second thing has to do with the issue of providing both recording as well as this kind of equipment that's used to hear what people are saying if you were to move to a location like Palmer Depot. It's my great pleasure to go to a variety of different sites. For example, the Borough Assembly moves its presentations sometimes. And the school board also does the same thing. They go to a variety of places. And I've looked at the kind of equipment they've used, and I think I would distill everything to say, the simpler your system, the better. The simpler the system, the better. And also, there's this question of operator error, because every time someone grabs one of these and moves it along, they become problematic. So one of the things to do is to make sure that you have robust microphones, a very simple to operate system, and a simple to record system, because when it gets complicated, inevitably any of this audio stuff over a little bit of time, as I have found, for a few years, everything seems great, and then not so much. I believe that it is possible for the clerk to find equipment that is portable in nature, even though an 8-channel microphone system is a little more difficult and expensive than 4 channels, et cetera. To be able to do that and do it in a simple way and incorporate it with what you have. So I have confidence in her. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else that would like to address the council? Anyone else would like to address the council? Seeing no one, I will close audience participation. And I'll call you to the public hearing. I wanted to remind everybody, we will have the public hearing. Remember, we have one motion to accept all of the resolutions. That's our pending motion right now. But we will need to divide the question, so we will take each resolution and vote on them separately, right? Isn't that,
Yes.
that's what we
Yeah, 'cause we haven't
said
done
last
that.
time we had to do that, yeah. So with that, I'm sorry, ma'am? Okay, does anybody want any staff reports or anything before we go into the public hearings?
Really?
Yeah. We got the public out there. Well, I don't know, maybe you changed your mind about something.
Stick it to the process, right?
So I'm gonna open the public hearing and we will be receiving testimony on resolution 20-001, adopting the employee pay plan, and 20-002 for the fee schedule, 20-003 for the fine schedule, 004 for the 5-year capital improvement program, and 005 for the budget for the city of Palmer, starting January 1st, 2020 and ending December 31st, 2020. So the public hearings are now open. Anyone can come and address. During this time of addressing the council, please keep your comments to any of these 5 resolutions. 3 minutes if you're representing yourself, 5 minutes if you're representing a group. Does the council have any objections to closing the public hearing? Okay. Somebody does? No. So with that, I will close the public hearing on those 5 resolutions. Is that the bad side over there? Okay, so now I will, so we need to make a new motion then, or how?
We need a
how-
motion to divide the question.
Oh, so that's the first motion we need, and then we can take them up individually.
That's correct. And
Okay.
the second is required for a division of the question.
Okay. And do we vote on that as a
You do by
division?
consensus.
By consensus, okay,
That you can.
okay. Alrighty, can I have a motion to divide, the, questions on the 5 resolutions? Deputy Mayor?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion regarding dividing the question. Okay, is there consensus that that's okay to proceed that way? All right, okay, we have that. So the first one then is Resolution 20-001, adopting the 2020 City of Palmer Employee Pay Plan.
I move to
Yes.
approve.
Okay,
So
is there a second? I'm sorry, go ahead, ma'am. We already have a motion.
that's correct. So that motion of divide, that main motion.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The main motion, dividing the question, that main motion still stands for each of those divisions.
Okay.
So we just need to vote now on those
Or
and
discussion.
have
or-
discussion.
or
Yeah, because
amendments.
there's a motion on the floor, so you can have discussion. It is owned by the council, and you can make any amendments.
Okay.
So
Okay, so we have a pending motion on resolution 20-001. So now is there discussion on that resolution and or any amendments anyone would like to put forth? Okay, all those in favor of adopting resolution 20-001, please say yes.
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 Okay, those opposed say no. Okay, so that resolution has been adopted. The next item is resolution 20-002, adopting the 2020 fee schedule for the city of Palmer for the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2020 and ending December 31st, 2020. And now do we need to make those amendments regarding, okay, Councilwoman Sabrina Combs?
I move to amend resolution 20-002 to reflect community center railroad depot rental miscellaneous fees and the MTA event center curling stone rental monthly fees as well, as provided by the manager.
Okay. Okay, so that's on the top of this page. Everybody there? Everybody okay? Everybody got it?
and we do not have a second.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Alrighty, discussion regarding that. And just for the record, the to be determined abbreviation is gonna be put in there so people understand what that is. Okay.
Okay.
Right. Alrighty, any questions, amendments to that motion? Okay, all those in favor of adopting resolution 20-002?
We need to, I'm sorry, did you get the vote on that amendment, that primary amendment?
Well, no, I have not, so that would be the vote for the amendment.
Okay, thank you.
So, the amendment to resolution 20-002, this is just voting on the amendment. All those in favor of the amendment, please say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed say no. Okay, now we have before us resolution 20-002 as amended. Discussion, further amendments. Okay, all of those in favor of resolution 20-002 as amended, please say yes. Yes. Those opposed say no. Okay, so we have adopted resolution 20-002 as amended. The next item is resolution 20-003, adopting the 2020 fine schedule for the city of Palmer for the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2020 and ending December 31st, 2020. Amendments, questions, discussion? Okay, all of those in favor of the motion for adoption of resolution 20-003, please say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed say no. Resolution 20-003 has been adopted. The next item is resolution number 20-004, adopting the 5-year capital improvement program for the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2020 and ending December 31st, 2020. And you have those amendments that have been presented to us on the back of this page. Councilwoman Sabrina Combs.
I move to amend resolution 20-004 with the amendments presented by the manager tonight.
Is that
Can I
these
just,
here,
well, yes, those presented by the manager.
the 2020
For-
editions, is that what you're asking for?
Yes.
Okay, okay. Did you, okay, so, the 2020 editions that have been presented to us from the city manager is a road sander truck with plow blade, $175,000, annexation planning, $125,000, airport safety improvements, $16,600, and traffic safety planning, $135,000. And did we have a second?
And I'm sorry, Madam Mayor, I think it would also include all of the continuing projects listed by the city manager as well.
The ones on the top? too?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Do I need to read those?
No, were those in the beginning when we had it presented? These top ones were not. Okay, okay. So the MTA equipment arena, 20,000, paint, Bailey Hill Reservoir, 50,000, ADA sidewalk, 61,700, police radios, 50,000. Let's see, the water sewer, we will do when we do the that's,
All of these, because it's part of the CIP, it's not the actual budget.
okay, okay, so we don't do the CIP separate for enterprise funds, there's all together.
Yeah, for the CIP.
Okay, okay, thank you. Water sewer lift station, 55,000, water sewer truck, 45,000, police vehicle, 50,000, golf course golf carts, 20,000, golf course infrastructure, 20,000. Okay, so
Madam Mayor?
that, yes.
We do not have a second to this.
Oh, we do not have a second.
Second.
Okay, all right. And Councilman Best.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make an amendment to the amendment.
Okay,
I'd like to change the title of traffic safety planning to traffic safety planning and improvements.
okay. Is there a second to that motion?
Second that.
Okay. Okay, discussion on the amendment to add the words "and improvements." Any discussion? Councilman Best, your mic is still on, is that okay? Oh, okay, so all of those in favor of the amendment to add "and improvements," please say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed say no. Okay, so "and improvements" have been added. Any other amendments or addition? Councilwoman Sabrina Combs?
I'd like to make an amendment that we move annexation planning to the community development operational budget.
Okay,
So
So
is there,
the motion proper retaining just to the CIP would be removing it from the CIP, and then when we get to resolution number 5,
got it.
add it into that one.
I meant to do that.
Okay.
okay, so is there a second to that motion?
Second, I'll second
Councilmember
it.
Best seconded that.
Oh, okay, okay. So is there any discussion regarding removing the annexation planning from the CIP? All of those in favor of that amendment, please say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed say no. Okay, so that has been removed. Any other amendments to the CIP? Okay, we're ready then to vote on resolution 20-004 as amended.
No, we still have the amendment to add all of this presentation, so we have that primary amendment. Then we have the two secondary, so we still need to go back to our primary amendment made by Councilmember Combs, Sabrina Combs, and Councilmember Best, that was adding all of this.
Okay, so
To the
already, so
resolution.
the main amendment, the very first amendment, we haven't voted on yet, okay? Okay, so all those in favor of adding all of these things, adding, except, well, I guess we've already removed the annexation, so, okay,
Yep.
all right. All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Okay, those opposed say no. Now we have the main motion in front of us for resolution 20-004 as amended.
Perfect.
Perfect, okay. Any discussion regarding that? Okay, all those in favor of adopting resolution 20-004 as amended, please say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed say no. Okay, so that's done. Alrighty. Now, the next one, resolution 20-005, adopting a budget for the city of Palmer for the fiscal year beginning January 1st, 2020 and ending December 31st, 2020, and appropriating the monies. And we have a number of amendments that we have in front of us. So we need a motion then to accept these amendments, right? I mean, if that's the wishes of the council. Okay,
Yeah, Madam Mayor, I
Uh-huh.
would move that we accept resolution 20-005.
Okay,
All
with
all
the-
of the amendments,
with
1
these
through
amendments?
9.
okay. All right, let me see if there's a second. Is there a
Second.
second? Okay, already. Go ahead,
So-
sir, you have.
So to I'll read all the adjustments
Okay,
that we've made in the last hour. And
okay.
then I'll get the thumbs up from Gina, that we can go from there.
Then we're all on the right track?
Yes.
Okay,
So primary amendment number 1 is to amend the 2020 budget to reflect the deductions in healthcare premium as follows: $172,653 in Fund 6012, which is the general fund.
okay,
$20,748 in Fund 6012 Water Sewer. $2,964 in Fund 03, which is Airport. $3,465 in Fund 05, which is Solid Waste. $2,934 in Fund 53, which is the Narcotics Opiate Task Force. $1,761 in Fund 52, which is the SRO, for a total of $172,653. That number doesn't, that's just for information, that doesn't affect the budget. Primary amendment number 2 is to amend the 2020 budget to reflect the increase in healthcare premiums by not increasing employee contributions for 2020 as follows: $5,600 in Fund 6012, the general fund; $679 in Fund 6012 Water Sewer; $0 in Fund 03, the airport; $536 in Fund 05 Solid Waste; $536 in Fund 53 Narcotics Opiate Task Force; and $402 in Fund 52, which is SRO. So based on the annexation discussion, planning discussion, primary amendment number 3 should read as follows: to amend the 2020 budget to increase community development planning to include funding for 2 Palmer Visit short videos and annexation planning, $143,000 to 01/01/12/6071, which is the community planning line. So that was 18,000 plus the 125,000 annexation planning. So that covers what we discussed
did
on
you
that
say
one.
141?
143.
Oh, okay, that's what it was, but I'm sorry, I heard
Okay.
141.
I may have
Okay.
said that, but it's a 143,000
Okay.
to community development
All
for
right.
community planning.
Okay,
Primary amendment number 4 is to amend the 2020 budget to include funding for a facilitated strategic planning session, $2,500 to 01/01/12/6071, which is also community planning.
So are we taking out the 0102106069?
Yes, it only needs to go one place.
Thank you.
What was the difference between 69 and 71?
One is council is 69 and community planning is the 6071.
So we're removing 6069.
So 6069, it was one or the other. So to clarify, It's 6071, because that's who's gonna coordinate it. Primary amendment number 5, now this is a little tricky.
Okay.
And I'm gonna be watching Gina shake her head one way or the other. So primary amendment number 5 is to amend the 2020 budget to reflect allocations in the approved 2020 CIP, which we just discussed, for 2020 additions from the general fund to the following funds. 81,700 to Fund 08, which is general CIP projects. Basically, that removed the annexation planning. 275,000 to Fund 09, which is general CIP equipment. 16,600 to Fund 03 airport capital projects, and then 40,000 to Fund 15, which is golf course fund, and then finally 135,000 to Fund 10, which is the roads fund.
So the only line that's changing is the top one
The top line,
to
81,700.
Okay. So then that, okay.
Primary amendment number 6 is to amend the 2020 budget to reflect the reallocation of funds in the following accounts back to the general fund. 29,704 City Hall renovation, 0801107163, 3,054 from the library front doors project, 0801107113, and then 2,936 from the City of Palmer Deferred Maintenance Fund, 0850056053. Primary amendment number 7 is to amend the 2020 budget to increase finance contractual services for online sales tax payment system as follows: $25,000 to 0101106030. And then finally, there's 2 more, sorry. Primary amendment number 8, to amend the 2020 budget for the mayor, council, city clerk budget as follows: reduce legal fees 0102106027 to $25,000. Increase community council grants 0102106069 to $15,000. Increase election expenses 0102106099 to $15,000. Primary amendment number 9 is to amend the 2020 budget to increase community development community center depot to include funding a new accounting line called downtown Wi-Fi for $3,000, which is the new line 0101206025. And that includes what I believe has been discussed tonight. And I'm getting an affirmative from Gina.
We have a motion to do these, okay. Okay, so we have a motion to do these. Why don't we go ahead and vote on these amendments as one package? And then if anybody else has anything else for the general fund, we can take that up as a separate amendment. Does that sound okay? All right, that way it'll be much easier, I think, maybe to follow. Okay, we do have them.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah.
Madam Mayor.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to amend this amendment to remove primary amendment number 9, the downtown Wi-Fi, 3,000.
Okay, to remove that, okay. Is there a second to that motion? Okay. All right, so no second, okay. Any other amendments to these amendments? Okay, because we'll take up the general fund after, you were just talking to these. Councilman Best. Did you, oh,
Point of clarification then.
uh-huh.
I mean, this is where we would have our amendments on this as
Any-
a whole.
Anything on the amendment of
Correct.
these? Yeah, yeah. Anything you want to change on these?
Correct.
This
The way
amendment?
she keeps stating it, it's a little confusing.
Right. Then when we've determined whether this is acceptable or rejected, then we'll open up the whole, general fund operating budget for any other amendments. Okay. So these are just the amendments we have discussed and asked for. Okay. Any further clarification on this? Okay.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
I move that we adjust the community council grants to $12,000 as had been discussed about potentially putting it into bracketed quarterly kind of situations, that if we make it to where it's $2,000 per quarter, $2,500 per quarter, that would put us at $10,000.
That would put us
So
10,000.
if we did
So I'll second with the
If you did it-
understanding that it's 3,000 per quarter.
3,000
3,000 per
per
quarter.
quarters, yeah,
for
3,000 per
12
quarter.
grand.
And so
Okay.
taking it to $12,000.
Right, to take it,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
so we're reducing that from 15 to 12, right? Does everybody understand that, okay? Okay, so we have that amendment, do I have a second to that amendment? Okay.
Councilmember Carrington.
Okay, so, discussion on that amendment to reduce that 15,000 on the community council grants to 12,000 and allocate it according to quarters, correct? Yes, Sabrina Combs? Councilwoman?
I feel like we should take the allocation part out of this, I think it's a totally different discussion to talk about the program itself. Lowering the dollar, we're talking about budget tonight, so talking about changing the program, I don't think needs to be included in this discussion.
Okay.
So
Let
I
me
would-
ask,
I would amend that amendment to remove the part of making it quarterly payments.
is there a second to that amendment?
Yes.
Okay, okay, now the discussion has to be regarding removing the quarterly constraint to this line item in the budget. Discussion on that amendment to the amendment? Okay, all of those in favor of that amendment, please say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed say no. Okay, so now we have,
I'm sorry, can I get clarification? Okay, you did
One
vote
no.
no.
Okay.
Thank you.
okay, so now the amendment that we have before us is to take the 15,000 to the 12,000. Discussion on that amendment. Okay, all of those in favor of reducing the 15 to the 12, say yes. Yes. Opposed?
No.
No.
Okay, so there were two, I did yes, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to 2 then, okay. So now back to the main amendment, the first amendment that we have, with those, with that amendment, okay? Further amendments to this amendment? Okay, so all of those in favor of the amendments as presented that was read by the city manager, except for the amendment we just made for that, all of those, all of you please say yes. Yes.
Yes.
Those opposed say no. Okay, so that amendment then is done. Okay, now, are there further amendments to anything in the general fund budget? And I guess also any of the enterprise ones, right? And this resolution doesn't just address the general fund, it addresses the general fund and any of the enterprise funds. So is there any motions regarding any other changes in the budget? Councilman Best?
Madam Mayor, early on, we had a discussion about adding a full-time position into the city council's budget
Okay,
under the clerk's office, and I'd like to go back to last year's budget amount for for 2 half-time positions.
okay,
And that would reflect against the 6011 regular salaries, 6012 regular benefits, 6013 part-time salaries, and 6016 overtime part-time.
okay,
I don't know that it would reflect anything in leave as well, so I don't believe so,
okay,
so we would need new numbers for those.
okay. Is there a second to that motion?
Second?
Councilman Carrington? Okay, discussion on that amendment. Councilwoman Sabrina Combs?
I guess I would just ask Councilman Best to explain why he would want to do that. There's been adequate shown of need for those to be full-time positions and a ton of work to be done in that department, so I wouldn't support this.
Okay. Councilwoman Best?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Taking on an additional expense of the PERS obligations, that's not a one-year thing, that's a long-term situation that we'd have to understand that impact. I don't think that we're in a position to be adding additional employees. I think that workload management of the situation right now is imperative. I think to determine what is necessary in that office, I think is probably a longer discussion, but I think that we should probably stick with the amount that we had over the last few years.
Okay. Further discussion come up? Yes, Councilwoman.
Madam Mayor, I am not in support of the amendment. I think as we ask the city clerk and the part-time people to take on more roles, we're concerned about website, we're concerned about public information. I just feel like we're asking them to do more and more things. They're still digging through boxes in the basement, whatever, for records, and I think that it makes sense to move to increase to the full-time positions.
Okay. Further discussion? Deputy Mayor Combs?
I have some conflict in this regard. Not for any of the reasons already stated, though, other than I could combine the two. Every single position at the city of Palmer over the last decade has been asked to do more, and not necessarily with any increase in any kind of benefits or in salary. For many years, there was no increase in salaries. We weren't adding any people. In fact, positions were being cut. And before we do it in one spot, I think it needs to be looked at as to whether or not we do it in the places that were already cut, where we did have full-time people. And one of the places I would suggest would be like at the library. You know, we've had to cut our hours. We've got individuals that, and I certainly don't care for the hours at the library, but we can't sustain more hours like we used to because we don't have the bodies, and we have not been able to justify adding that expense. So again, I do have sympathy for anybody that is being asked to do more, but every single one of our employees has been asked to do more over the last few years, the last 4 or 5 years in particular, as we've tightened belts, tried to save some money, and not take on the PERS type obligations. I hate that. I'll tell you right up front. I hate that the PERS obligations has been a part of this discussion, but it is a part of this discussion, and it's a long-term amount of our citizens' tax paying, So I have difficulty, like I said, I go back and forth. I do know that there's a lot of folks that are not, wouldn't be happy with a part-time job because, but there's not a lot of full-time work available, and that's one of the reasons why it's not just the city of Palmer. So again, without looking at some of the other places within the city structure that have had the cuts in the last 5, 6 years, and they haven't had anything added back for hours, I would have to say that we need to look at it as a whole and not just the one department. I appreciate every single solitary city employee. They're my heroes because they have taken on more, and they continue to give the best service that's around. I hear nothing but great things from our constituency, from our community about our employees and what kind of service they do provide. But they have been asked to do more most oftentimes with less. So if we're gonna do it in one spot, I would be, I'm not able to go there until we do it in the other spots as well.
Okay, any further? Let's see, Councilwoman Valeris, you spoke already, haven't you? Okay, Councilwoman Burbrick?
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Mm-hmm.
We just put a pile of work on the city clerk just not more than 20 minutes ago, and I'm gonna have to disagree that, while I appreciate that all city employees have had to, do more, that's kind of the nature of things. Working in administration, I also know that people tend to think that people that are doing administrative tasks aren't working as hard as other people, when that is generally not the case. And I don't see the job of the city clerk getting any easier with the tasks that we are looking at approaching in the new year. And so I, for one, am not for this amendment.
Okay. Okay, just let me see if anybody else that hasn't spoken. Councilman Carrington, did you want to speak?
Sure.
Let me give everybody a chance to speak and then I'll come back to seconds. Okay, Councilman Carrington?
I, for one, I'm reluctant to add a permanent position. And I guess especially when we're next month, we're gonna be looking at elections and kind of revisiting all this. I would just as soon, my preference would be that we wait on this, keep the positions as they are, and then we can always do a budget amendment to make the full-time position happen, But I guess, I'm cautious. I don't want to add positions until I kind of fully understand things better.
Okay, alrighty, Councilwoman Valeris?
Madam Mayor, I think it is some of these things that point out exactly where that increased need is. We're dealing with elections, we're dealing with all these things. Although I appreciate where Council Member Coombs is coming from, as a business owner, I really think twice about when I keep asking employees to do more and do more. I get that that's the trend, that's what's happening. That doesn't mean it's the right thing. And there's really some value also in having happy employees, people that can do their job to the best of their ability, because the more stuff we pile on people, you can't function at the best of your ability. I mean, that's well known. So I just respectfully disagree. I mean, I know that's what's happening, but I don't think it's the right thing.
Okay, any further discussion by anybody? Okay, are we ready then to? Okay, so the amendment before you is to, on page 37, then to remove from 6011, 6012, 6013, and 6016 to adjust all of those back to the current staff level. So does everybody understand that okay? Okay, all of those in favor of the amendment say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Those opposed say no.
No.
Okay, so 4-3. Okay, so that amendment's there. Any other amendments in the, any of the general fund, any of the enterprise funds, anything else in appropriations? Yes, Councilman Best.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to stay in the city council's budget.
Okay.
And I'd like to change the Sister City program amount to $2,000 from $6,000. I think.
Okay, so in the increase, instead of 6,000, you would do 2, so that would make the total to 9,500. Yes. 9,000. So what we're really doing, I would think we would probably want to address the 13,500 to be reduced to 9,500, right? Is that what you're trying to do?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So that's 9,500. Okay, is there a second to that motion? I'll go ahead and second for discussion. Councilman Bester, would you like to speak to your motion?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I believe we had allocated $6,000 to go towards members traveling, members travel. And I am in favor of paying for the one delegate that is positional, the deputy mayor position, but I believe additional council folks should be paying on their own dime, not be paid for by the citizenry.
Okay. Further discussion, questions or comments? Councilwoman Valerius?
I'm not in support of decreasing these funds. I think that everybody who's going over there is part of the city and representing our city, so it's not just the deputy mayor, so I would like to see this stay the same.
Okay. Councilwoman Sabrina Combs?
I'd also just, for the stewardship between us and Soroma, this is a once every 10-year cost. Every other 10 years, every last 5 years ago, they sent an enormous delegation to our city, and their city paid for a lot of it. We are bringing a delegation of just about 20 people. Most people are paying their own way. I just don't support this. It's once every 10 years, and I think it's important for the program.
Okay. Further questions or comments, discussion? I think maybe Deputy Mayor Combs can remind us, I think when your husband was mayor and
The
when-
history is, that, yes, 10 years ago when they were determining, it basically, wasn't budgeted originally to pay for anyone. Even though, many prior years, there'd been, some funds used to send city managers, send, the fire chief, a few others. When it was coming up about 2010, Councilmember Irby at the time actually is the one that added the mayor and spouse because of the expectation that the mayor and the spouse would attend. Councilman Molesky at the time and his wife were also part of the delegation, and they paid for their own tickets. So I know that when I put my name in the hat, that while I certainly would appreciate, since unlike others, I am retired and don't have a lot of leeway in income, but I had set aside monies and I could certainly pay for my ticket if that's what the folks from the city chose to do. I would, again, I would appreciate it being reimbursed, but it was my understanding that that was one of the, I've had a couple people comment to me that they might have put their names in the buckets if they had thought that there was any chance, that there would be a reimbursement, because there isn't a history of it. So, having individuals from our council, having individuals from our community attend this very important event is an extremely important thing. That's when you do weigh out. Again, we're talking about taxpayer dollars here, and we're supposed to be spending them where it's the best, in the best interest for the majority of those folks out there that are putting money in our coffers. So I guess I'd leave that up to your conscience. I wasn't even sure if I should speak about this or, back off or even vote on it, but it is an important occasion. The other side of me is frugal, we've got to be careful, I know that there's money, I know we've got money set aside, but it's set aside for a reason. It's set aside in case we have another one of those geysers down there in the main intersection of Alaska Street and and that sort of thing. We have money set aside in case of real disaster, and so that we could pay our employees if not a dime was coming in. So that's the way I look at it. So, but the history is that they have, the city has paid for, quote unquote official delegates, who, ever that might be considered. I don't think I helped, because I see both sides, so I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I helped at all. So, but I do know that, like I said, I do know that in 2010, Councilman, Molesky, and his wife decided that they were extremely interested in the Sister City program. They wanted to partake in the ceremonies. They were a tremendous addition to our delegation. I can't even begin to tell you how great it was to have them along with us, but they also chose to pay their own way. So that's just the way it was done in the past.
Okay, thank you. Let me ask the city attorney. Mike?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Since this line item in the budget has come into question and we have people on the council that this would personally benefit, are they allowed to vote and enter discussion on this line item?
Wait, no.
That's a good question.
I mean, normally we look at if it's something, that they don't benefit personally from, but this, would be a line item where a check would be written that would go directly to them, so, anyway,
And this is for the spouse.
no,
No.
no, this is for the two other council people that have signed up to go. They,
Oh, well, I think if they've signed up to go and it's a council, it's for the benefit of the city. It wouldn't be any different than voting to budget for travel to Juneau or anywhere else, since it's a city function. So that's sort of my take on it. I don't think that it would be a conflict to vote on a budget line item to provide payment for someone to attend a city function if that's the majority will of the council.
okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Who had their mic on first?
I just have a clarification question.
Sure.
Lowering at the amount that Councilman Best is asking, wouldn't that just remove one person from, it would still allow for two, wouldn't it? No?
Well, it's
I'm
my
not, maybe I'm not
understanding
understanding how much he's lowering it.
It's my understanding that it's $2,000 per person, and so he lowered it by 4, so that would remove the payment for 2 of the representatives from the council.
Thank you.
Is that Councilman Best, is that?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I believe that we allocated $2,000 originally in the discussion early on per ticket that would be purchased.
Right, okay.
And
Oh, I'm sorry.
And if I may, we in that discussion, it was the caveat that it could come back up in budgetary discussion. That was not a guarantee of repayment or reimbursement that evening when we were talking about it. If I may, Madam Mayor, we had talked earlier that we're asking employees to do more. Well, this is kind of our share, asking us to do more in this respect. We've sat here over the years when we've had discussions about raising water, sewer by $5 or $10 a month, or trash services by $5 a month. And we've had folks come in there and say how that was going to impact their monthly bills and that it was going to put them in dire straits. And if you think about that, this is $2,000 that comes from our citizens. Let's put it in perspective a little bit. A trip to Japan is a bucket list kind of thing. I get it, but I don't think it's something that should be paid for by the citizens. So that's why I'm asking for this amendment.
Okay. Councilman Villegas?
Madam Mayor, I would like everybody to think about the fact that this does happen every 10 years. So over the course of time, the amount of money is, you know, it's not happening yearly. And I guess if it's really that important for us to cut it, then let's not reimburse anybody for their travel to go to Japan because it's a bucket list.
Okay, is that an amendment to the amendment?
I'd like to make an amendment that if we're not going to support everybody traveling over to Japan, then we don't support any of the city delegates.
So I would interpret that to take it
To reduce it down by
down
another
to
2,000.
7,500 then,
Yeah.
which is the budgeted amount that we had last year. Is that a correct interpretation? Okay, is there a second to that? Is there a second to that motion? Just like I did for Richard, I will second it just for discussion so we can discuss it, okay? So that amendment to reduce the 13,500 down to 7,500 is the amendment we're discussing at this time. Councilwoman Sabrina Combs?
I agree entirely with the principle behind what she's saying. I don't think we should be lowering it at all, so I'm not gonna vote for it.
Okay. Any other discussion from Councilwoman Berber?
I would agree with Councilwoman Sabrina Combs that I don't think we should be reducing it at all either. It's, again, like Dr. Valeria said, this is something that comes around every 10 years. And while I did not anticipate that the city of Palmer would pay for this, I do think that this is a big thing for the city of Palmer, and so I don't support this at all.
Okay. Further discussion, Councilman Best?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. While the event comes up every 10 years, your taxes are paid yearly.
Okay. Further discussion or comments on the amendment? The amendment of the other amendment, I guess, huh? Isn't it?
Yeah.
Third amendment, I guess. Okay. Anyone that hasn't talked would like to talk on this amendment? Okay, alrighty, so the amendment on the floor to you is to, in the city council budget on page 37, the Sister City program, to reduce the amount 13,500 down to 7,500. All of those in favor of that motion, please say yes. Okay, those opposed, say no.
No.
Okay, so that motion, that amendment fails. Now we're back to the main amendment to take the 13,500 down to 9,500. Any further discussion on that before we vote? Okay, all of those in favor of that, please say yes.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
No.
Okay. Alrighty, so that amount remains at 13,500. Any other amendments or discussion on anything in the general fund? Okay, so are we ready then to vote on resolution 20-005? As we've had two the one major amendment and then the other amendments, so we've had those two, right?
The 3 amendments to this resolution.
So let's see, I have this major one, and then I have the one,
Staffing in the clerk's office
Stan-
and those 2 amendments that were approved, yes.
right, those are the only two amendments that we have.
Yes.
Right, okay. All right, so is everybody clear on that? All right, so all of those in favor of resolution 20-005 as amended, please say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, say no. All righty, we have a budget for 2020. You wanna take a 5-minute break, or should we go ahead and go into the committee on the whole? Deputy Mayor Combs, did you have a comment?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, okay. Alrighty.
Did you vote on that secondary amendment to reduce the 2,000?
The secondary amendment, yes, Jill and I were the two that voted yes, and everybody else voted no on that one, right? Yeah, okay. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have called you Jill, I'm sorry, Councilwoman Valerius. Well, I know, but there is a protocol that I need to heed to, cause I'd call you out if you didn't. So fair is fair, lady. You're welcome. Okay, so the next item under new business is the committee of the whole. Discuss the employee end of the year bonus. Action may be taken by the council following the committee of the whole. Is there a motion to go into the committee of the whole?
So moved. Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we go into committee of the whole. Discussion, amendment to that motion? Okay, so all of those in favor say yes. All those opposed say no. I don't think I heard too many yeses, but I didn't hear any no's, so. So we are now in a committee on the whole to discuss the employee end of the year bonus. And, let's see, did we have someone that had proposed it was a motion by Councilwoman Sabrina Combs, I believe, at the last meeting, so.
Yes, it was.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm bringing it up on the thing. We had received an email from the city manager talking about where we were at for the end of the year. We are currently projecting to close about 299,000 over under budget, and so I would like to propose. A $1,000 after taxes for full-time and $500 for part-time bonus for city employees.
So, I thought you said 81,000, is that what did you say that, 1,000 for full-time, is that what you said?
I mean, I'd love to give them 81,000, but no, just
Okay.
$8,000
Okay.
for full-time, 500 for part-time. We aren't,
And,
there was no recommended pay raise for the 2020 budget, so this is a nice way of showing them that we appreciate them regardless.
and that, what, you need to say either, you said after taxes, is that you said?
$1,000 net after taxes, yes.
After taxes, okay. And do you have a total figure for that?
No,
Okay.
I bet
So
the manager does.
I can provide that information. Make sure I get the right numbers here. So for $1,000 net or 500,000 net.
We're spending the money tonight.
So for a $1,000 net for full-time, 500 net, for part-time, the general fund would require it doesn't require appropriation of funds, but it would expend $102,700 for the general fund, $9,600 for the water sewer fund, $1,600 for the airport fund, and then $1,600 for the solid waste fund.
And I apologize, he did provide that, and I just didn't read it, so thank you.
I was thinking it was in the
It
email,
was
but I
right
don't have
in
my
front of
phone.
me, and this is equivalent to what we have done for the last couple of years.
Okay,
Yes.
do we have a second to that motion? Oh, I'm sorry, we're in the committee of the whole, yeah. Further discussion on that? And now. And that's gonna come out of this year's budget and not next year's budget, correct?
The money is already appropriated in personnel items.
Okay, so Councilman Best?
Madam Mayor, thank you. We did not make any adjustments to the employee pay plan. This is a way for us to give an increase to the employees and not affect the long-term PERS obligations. I am in favor of making an adjustment in this manner. Maybe the dollar amount is what I have an issue with, but I'm okay with this manner utilizing this.
Okay, further discussions? Okay, remember, we're in the committee on the whole, but you can still go ahead and discuss. So, okay. So, any other suggestion, Councilwoman Valerius?
I am in favor of this to give the employees a year-end bonus.
Okay, okay. Any other discussion regarding this proposed amendment to the 2019 budget when we come out of the committee on the whole? Councilmember Ray.
Madam Mayor, thank you. I am in favor of this as well. We just got done discussing how we're asking our city employees to do more, and this is one way to thank them for that. And as there is money in this year's budget for it, I support this.
Okay. Further discussion? Are we ready to come out of the committee of the whole, or does some more people want to talk?
Move to come out of a committee of a whole.
Okay, is there a second? Okay. So there's a motion to come out of the committee of the whole. Any discussion regarding that amendment to that motion? Okay, all of those in favor of coming out of a committee of the whole, please say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed say no. Okay, we are out of the committee on the whole. What wishes does the council like to make?
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Councilmember Sabrina Combs?
I move to grant bonuses to all city employees, $1,000 net after taxes for full-time and $500 for part-time with a minimum of 500 hours.
Just a clarification, I'd recommend that the motion be to direct the city manager to do that.
Okay.
That way we aren't dealing with appropriations and things like that.
Right, because in appropriations, we got to have, yeah.
Sounds
we're gonna have
good.
Resolution and all of that stuff, so yeah, so we direct the city manager to do that, okay.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. So is there a second?
I would second that.
Okay. So the motion before you is to direct the city manager to award to the full-time city employees $1,000 bonus and $500 to part-time, and those figures are after taxes. And it will be for the 2019 budget appropriation. Okay, discussion, amendments? Okay, all those in favor of this motion to direct the city manager, say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed say no. Okay, so you have some direction, sir. Okay, the next item is action memorandum 19-093, directing the city clerk to notify the state of Alaska, the city council statement of non-objection to liquor license number 119, 5638, 5716 for Palmer Ale House located at 320 East Dahlia.
Move to approve.
Okay,
Second.
okay. Excuse me. It's been moved and seconded that we approve action memorandum number 19-093. Questions, comments, staff report?
Just staff report is any comments coming about the liquor license?
Gotten any other comments or any written comments or phone calls or anything?
City manager has received no comments.
Okay. Have you received any?
City clerk's office has not received any comments.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any further discussion regarding the motion? Okay, all of those in favor of action memorandum 19-093, please say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Those opposed say no. Okay, action memorandum 19-093 has been approved. The next item is action memorandum 19-094, approving the cancellation of the December 24th, 2019 regular council meeting. What is the wishes of the council?
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve action memorandum 19-094. Discussion, amendments to the motion? Okay, all those in favor of action memorandum 19-094, please say yes.
Yes.
Those opposed say no. Okay, so we are almost to the end of our last meetings for 2019. Madam Clerk, record of items placed on the table.
I'm handing out a letter right now that is request from Deputy Mayor Combs and Councilmember Burbrick regarding the census, and I will leave it up to Deputy Mayor Combs to fully inform the council on what this is.
Oh, you're gonna go around, cause I was gonna say only. Okay.
This was my attempt to get this piece of, to the individuals prior to the end of 2019. So if you look across it, it essentially is a request that the first resolution to be brought before the city council in the new year be a statement of this council's resolve to support the 2020 census efforts. Councilwoman Burbrick and I have discussed this, and she supports it so that we have the two individuals supporting it. You'll see in the letter that there's historical precedent for it. I'm asking that the council direct the city manager and the city clerk's office to see if this is on our first agenda in 2020, written in the proper language. I do know that the template from the 2010 census resolution is available to them. The one thing that I took from that template is towards the bottom, that I would appreciate, if nothing else, that those three goals be a part of this resolution. I just said all that. Okay, one more time, real quick. I'm trying to get this done before the end of the year, so this was the way that I chose to do it. You've probably had time to read it now, pretty much. So I'm respectfully requesting that the first resolution to be brought before the city council in the new year be a statement of this council's resolve to support the 2020 census effort. Most of us know exactly how important the census is, but it is also extremely important, and I learned this working with the 2010 census, that it's extremely important that the city support that effort, that we support it in a lot of different manners. I know that we're already sending, Mr. Hanson is working with a task force that has to do with the census. We're leaving millions and even billions of dollars on the table as a state by, not enforcing it, or not, encouraging it as much as possible. So what we did in 2010, I do know is, I just appreciated if everybody would be open and willing to being interviewed, TV, radio, newspapers, etc., whatever it takes. If there's events that the census people let us know about, show up and wear the t-shirt that they give you that talks about the census. I have a couple of t-shirts from 2010. I've got hats, that sort of thing. So people, when our neighbors see us, and we're saying, yes, this is an okay thing to do, in fact, it's a very important thing to do, it makes a big difference. So I would appreciate your support on directing the city manager and city clerk to bring this back to us at the beginning of the year.
Alrighty, so let's see, I guess.
She has that support from Julie Burbrick assigned on the letter. So it's on the floor looking for you.
Right, okay, yeah, so there's nothing we need to do then. Okay, so, did you give me a report on the records of items placed on the table?
That was that letter.
That was that, okay,
only one.
anything else? Okay, that's it. Okay, the audience participation is now open, last time to address the council for 2019. Besides Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everybody. So, anyone want to address the council in any manner? Give us some direction for 2020, or do you think we bit off too much or not enough or something, huh? Okay, with that, I'll close audience participation. Council comments? Councilman Berber, we'll start with you this evening.
I would just like to thank the city manager and Gina, the finance department, and everybody for all their hard work on this budget. This is my second budget process that I've been through. It's a lot of work, and I really appreciate you guys' work and taking the time to explain all of it to us and all your reports. Also to Chief Kettling, congratulations on your retirement. I'm jealous, but I'm very happy for you, and Commander Shelton, welcome to the new position. Colony Christmas this weekend. I hope you guys can all come out to the parade. We're gonna have hopefully hundreds of people on bikes all lit up for the parade, and then the Valley Mountain Bikers and Hikers will be hosting their annual membership party at our bike shop after the parade, after the fireworks actually. So everyone is welcome to come to that. If you're not a member of the Valley Mountain Bikers and Hikers, you can become one. And then I just want to say happy holidays to all of you, and I am looking forward to our planning meeting in the new year.
Councilman Carrington?
I would echo all that, congrats to the chief and the new chief, and looking forward to Colony Days. It should be really good.
Councilwoman Valeris?
I also would echo the hard work on the budget, and thanks for making it understandable for my first time through. So, and Chief, thank you for all you do. And Chief, thank you in advance. Hoping that everybody has a happy holiday.
Councilwoman Sabrina Combs?
Thank you. Thank you to Gina and to Nate for the hard work on the budget, along with all your other staff. Colony Christmas is going to be awesome this year. We have one of the largest special events committees I've seen in my time on that committee. So there's lots of new events, and even without snow, it's going to be a great time. It's also Chief Ketterling's last time leading my parade, so you have to come. And with that, congratulations to Lance. You have been a police officer and a chief for almost my entire adult life, so I guess it's pretty good. Never been arrested by you, so that's really, really good, so thanks. Also, a huge thank you to the fire department for help with getting the rest of the water tower covered in lights. It's going to be pretty awesome. They're lighting that right at 5, so also a shout out to Kelly and his crew at the Pickers for getting those lights purchased and facilitating it. So happy holidays to all of you. Merry Christmas. Thanks.
Councilman Mist?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Another budget under the belt. For those of you that are new to council those who weren't under another city manager or another individual in finance over the years, this process, your hard work, your team, the approach that you guys have taken makes it to where it is much more enjoyable because of how things are formulated, your discussions, the information that is presented to this body. I commend you and your team, and that goes to probably just about every employee on the city staff, as well as our clerk and the clerk's office in participating in this. Over the years, I've seen this kind of grow, and the process that you take, I can't commend you enough. Chief Ketterling, I remember you on patrol the first time I got to meet you. Very imposing individual, short sleeves, tattooed up, and my first impression was, wow, this guy's he's going to be something. And what I found was a very kind-hearted individual who had his community at heart and takes a very measured approach to the duties that he was tasked with. And I appreciate your guidance of your staff and what you have brought to our community, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Combs?
So, the last day or two, I've been thinking a fair amount of this, and when I hear sirens from my house, which I do more than I like to sometimes, but I feel safe. And one of the reasons I feel safe is because of you gentlemen there in the audience. And Chief, you head up that lineup. immediately pray for whoever's answering whatever call.
Your mic.
I know that they are taking care of the citizens of the city of Palmer, and to have that rock solid belief is just immeasurable. Gonna miss you walking through the neighborhood, chief, you know, occasionally even just drops in, you know. Gee, I saw an ambulance at your house, I thought I'd check on you, you know, so, we'll miss that, but I'm really, glad for you and, for Heather, and, expect you to come back and, well, we'll find other places for you to, make us feel safe in our communities. So I've been able to watch the last couple of weeks, the joy of discovering Palmer and Palmer at Christmas time through an individual who's been coming to my house to give physical therapy to my husband. And this guy is only lived here for a couple of months, and he just has something exciting to say about Palmer every time he shows up, and has questions and everything else. And, you know, sometimes I think you need that. I agree with Councilmember Best. Budget time is not what it was many, many years ago, where you go, oh my God. But because we have found individuals that give us a wonderful product to work with, and they're willing to continually work at making it better. So it's a good year. We'll have a great one coming up. So everybody have a good holiday season.
Okay, a couple of housekeeping items. One is if you want to turn in your budget books to the clerk, so
Gina.
to Gina? Oh, they're not here? Okay, you didn't know you were getting that for Christmas, huh? And I understand that there's cake, so don't take off too quickly. And Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, and look forward to seeing you in 2020. Bye-bye.